shit a little bit.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, you're still on control. I moved this to shift.
That's smarter. Shift doesn't do anything other than slow down, which you never need.
You never ever do it. All right. Now we're free running.
Hey guys, welcome to a little show here called In Review. You may have seen this in past channels, even on the Know. We're doing it here now in Funhouse, where we look at a game. We don't actually give it a score, but we do take a look at it in review. Today I'm joined by Lawrence and Matt Peak.
Hello.
Hello.
And we are talking about Mirror's Edge Catalyst, a game that we got to play most of. Peak, I believe you're the only one who beat it.
It sounds like it. But it sounds like you guys are pretty close, though.
We're doing okay. Lawrence and I each spent a good amount of time with it.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about our likes and dislikes. So before we go any further, I guess we should just talk about what is the basic... Jesus Christ, hold on.
God damn it. Sorry, folks. There's people yelling outside for some reason. Oh, hey, good. Oh, no, wait. I'm not going to hack that. That's mine.
Oh. Yeah, I don't understand the hack screen thing.
But yeah, it's just like... There's elements of weird forced like social functionality in the game.
Yeah.
Being able to hack billboards and put your runner mark on them is one of them. And that's something that you have to change with at mirrorsedge.com, which is kind of lame, but I mean, they were obviously kind of stretching their minds for ways to make this a multiplayer / social experience. Some of them work, some of them don't. I really like the fact that you can add your own custom runs and stuff.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, you can make your own run courses.
Though. Sorry, I thought you meant like run animation.
Nah.
Okay.
That would be cool.
Well, I guess before we get into the meat and the potatoes of the game, I guess the first question I want to ask you guys is, does this live up to the original Mirror's Edge?
I want to hear Matt, the always opinionated Matt Peak. I'm ready to
Always
hear.
Opinionated.
Well, Matt, you were a big fan of the original Mirror's Edge.
I was a huge fan. I played many hours of it, and I think this totally lives up to it. In pretty much in every way, I would say it's a great game.
Yeah, I mean, the best way I think I could describe it was it feels like the original game, just, with a new, shiny, new coat, and it's open world-ish.
Yeah.
And it just sort of feels like it's the old but new again. I don't know how to accurately describe it. I guess it's like really, if you were a fan of the original one, you're probably going to like this, despite any of the negative reviews the game has been getting. I didn't think really any of those scores that I've seen on other sites really reflect what I played.
No, it's strange. Whoop!
Oh, look at him.
I love the goofy ragdoll physics in this game. Adam, I think you said it best, which the combat, it's a lot of stunt show action. A lot of dudes kind of goofily wandering into each other and making a big production out of ramming their head into a wall or something.
Well, that's one of the really interesting things they did with this game was I remember it was always kind of off a little bit in the original Mirror's Edge. Let me know if I'm off base here or not, Matt. But anytime you used a gun, it always kind of felt odd. And in this game, I don't think I've ever used a weapon once.
No, I don't think you can.
You can't pick up weapons in this game, I don't think.
Which I prefer. I thought it was actually a better way of... makes Faith a better character, I thought.
Yeah, the whole thing of the original game was, even though you could pick up a gun, the concept was like, you're not supposed to, you're supposed to evade and counter and get out of there. So they really kind of brought that home in this one with, you can't pick up guns. So.
I guess we should backtrack a little bit. Story-wise, where does this even take place in, I guess, the Mirror's Edge universe? Is it a reboot? Is it a sequel, prequel? I was actually kind of unclear on that playing the game.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are unclear on it. So I was trying to talk about that with people, and people had different answers. So it's pretty clear this is a younger Faith, and that the setting is a little different as well. It's either different or just more fleshed out, depending on how you look at it. So I guess depending on your interpretation, it could be a reboot, it could be a prequel. I guess either. It's hard to say, honestly. Although to be frank, it's not like the events of the original Mirror's Edge are that consequential. Yeah,
I was just thinking that there was nothing really that happened in the game. Most of the cutscenes were told through little like animated, cel-shaded segments that for me were mostly forgettable. And in this game, it just seems like they kind of go out of their way to just tell a whole new story. And it has been, what, 10 years? So
yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone was looking for any, unanswered questions. And if you are, please let me know, and I apologize.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate that. So even though it's kind of hard to tell if this is like a prequel or an extending, I do like the fact that they made Faith a more interesting of a character. She's younger than she was in the original Mirror's Edge, and as a result, is kind of stupider, more brash, and obviously kind of damaged. Like, the entire game is sort of teasing out this trauma that happened to her earlier in her life, and you get these like little flashbacks. And then as that kind of pieces together, you start to understand why she is like very defensive and kind of shitty to her friends and stuff like that. And just almost self-destructive in a way. There's a lot of that in the story as well.
Well, getting into the broader sort of plot of Mirror's Edge Catalyst, it's this weird sort of, I think it's a story we've seen before where it's a sort of Orwellian future.
It's very cyberpunk. Like there's the evil organization called the Conglomerate that owns every organization in the city of Glass. Like they are the government. One of the things that I enjoyed about the story was that there's like forced employment. If you don't have a job at one of the Conglomerate's many corporations, they will ship you to a detention center, and that's where we see Faith at the beginning of the game.
How beautifully millennial.
Yeah, right. It's kind of edgy in the. Oh, why did you grab onto that, Faith? Come on now. It's one of those kind of. It's the same themes that are in a lot of science fiction and cyberpunk. The idea that the world is gripped by endless consumerism, and that there's a group of liberated minds out there that are fighting the system and trying to teach people that there's a better way to live. And these are the runners. They don't have jobs, and everybody in the world calls them leeches on society and things like that because they don't contribute. They haven't bought into the idea that everybody should have a job and shit like that.
They just want to run, man.
Yeah, but there's some cool fringe shit there. Like they'll talk about the Grey Lands, which is like outside of the city of Glass, where people just kind of live nomadically. Even the city itself is divided into multiple explicit castes. There's like low caste, mid caste, and high caste, and all that stuff is kind of spelled out when you're going through the different regions in the game. I don't know. There's as a dork for cyberpunk, it's a little stereotypical, but I like it.
Yeah, I think the best comparison I can probably make to it is probably to a game like Assassin's Creed, where it is an open city and you can basically climb everything. Not so much in this game. Like I never really got the feeling that like if there's something I could see, I can get to it, because I would say the parkour elements are a lot more complicated and, in my opinion, much more enjoyable. That's one of the best things about this game is just the overall mechanics.
I agree. And Matt, don't let us talk over you here. But.
No, it's all good. You guys are saying things that I'm generally feel the same about. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to just run around, and especially when you kind of get that, whatever you call it, maintain your focus shield, and you're just kind of running and free running. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so you can see that on the bottom of the screen. There's that white bar that fills up while you're moving. That's a shield. It's a literal shield. So when you're fighting people, it actually forces you to stay on the move, to run around, to like hit and go, which really like helps amp up the action movie feeling of the game. When you're just like running on things while running, and then you jump off that, kick a guy, and then keep running, and you're like circling around this small area. I don't know. I really like that stuff.
Well, they've added just very few new elements. Most of the stuff that was in the original Mirror's Edge is there. Like, for us, we're playing on PC, so there's a button to hit Q, and you do like a quick 180 turnaround.
Yeah.
That's like, super helpful in a game like this. But also every time you land, you need to hit your land button. You need to either do a soft landing or a roll.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll lose like precious seconds, which usually means you'll win or lose a little run. And it's like when you really break it down mechanically, it's just like it's such a pure game when it is just it's very mechanically sound.
Absolutely.
It's one of the things that I mostly enjoyed about the game.
Yeah,
I think go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
I just said definitely. Yes, it is indeed.
One of the most satisfying lost it.
Just
One of the
like
most
that.
one of the most satisfying things I found in the game, and this is also the same sense that I had with the first one, is that it's really a racing game. So the joy of the game is finding a particular race that's really challenging, and by virtue of it being open world, now suddenly now suddenly it's not. So the original Mirror's Edge, every level was essentially kind of a straight shot through, and it was mostly about how perfectly you could hold all the buttons in sequence to navigate that course. Now it's more about, it's a combination of that plus you have to find the optimum route. So if there's a race that's like, and basically every story mission's like this, it's, I need you to run over here quickly. Like, okay. But the joy is running the same track multiple times, and then experimenting with different routes through the city, and finding ways to cut a corner a little bit, finding ways to land a little better, sprinting a little better.
There are parts where you literally cut a corner, where you're like, if I just wall run this part or I jump this edge, you shave a second, and that usually means you will complete, you'll get top score or below that. And they're actually going to this menu we see right now, where you see people's names. There were times where I would get distracted on a main mission, and I would just run a quick course, and I saw that Matt had done it previously, and he had beaten me by about, like 3 seconds. Ooh. And so I was like, I can do better. I can do better. And I probably spent a good hour just doing this. Like it added, you know, it meant nothing to the rest of the game, but I spent so much time on it just because I wanted the best mat. And I thought actually that, you know, it sounds like such a gimmick, but it was one of the social elements of the game that I think added to it and kind of made it. It's not exactly a multiplayer game, but it has that element that gives a multiplayer feel.
I totally agree. It brought out. I did that a couple times too, where I'd spent a good amount of time just doing this 20 to 30 second run over and over again because I was only 3 seconds from the first place guy. I can do that, right? But it's actually very hard, especially once you find a route where you're not messing up. It's like, what are these, like you said, tiny little corners I could cut? Just brought out a little bit of competitiveness that wasn't there otherwise.
It felt like a little bit of like an old school sort of throwback. And I guess the original Mirror's Edge like this. Maybe I feel it more now since the game's a bit more relevant with Catalyst. But it's one of those things where you do one thing wrong. And I guess that's what you're saying, Lawrence. It's like a racing game where you could be doing everything right and then you miss that one jump and you're in last place.
Yep. And I don't expect everyone to... Fuck.
There was a pole to your left.
Yeah, I missed it. I don't expect everyone to enjoy that experience, and maybe that's why some people are giving it lower reviews. I don't know. I didn't read them because I didn't want to taint my opinion. But I am of that particular temperament. I don't mind doing one challenge 10 times because with this game and kind of like racing games, the more you do it, you can see yourself getting better. So if you're like, one time you'll be 10 seconds away and you'll run out of time. And you'll be like, how the fuck do I ever do this? And you try it again, and you get a little bit further and a little bit faster. You're like, okay, if I do this jump this way, if I come off this jump at this angle, and then you'll start to figure all that stuff out. And that process is really enjoyable for me. And I think the controls and, oh boy, well, they're going to see me. Or else I don't know where I'm going now. Okay.
This is a kind of an interesting point to bring up too. The combat in the game is kind of interesting because once, like we said earlier, you don't have a gun. Yeah. And you do have to rely on a lot of like hand-to-hand combat, but the game, kind of like the previous one, kind of discourages combat.
Over there.
I did that so many times. I'll get to this after I finish what you were saying.
Oh, nothing. I was just saying, what do you guys think about the combat?
I liked it in general. A little bit. It's a little bit different. I caught myself. It's a little bit different pace than, kind of wall running and jumping and springboarding here. I get into this combat and want to keep that pace going a lot of the time when really I'd have to slow down and do that sort of evade dodge shift a lot, which is new to this game, which is actually really nice, but kind of forced me a couple times to take a step back and slow down a little bit from all the free running. But it's funny overall. It's good, but it's like you said, it's a little clunky sometimes of how the NPCs react, and
it looks like they're learning to walk for the first time.
Yeah, they're really wobbly legged.
The last thing I was gonna say, I think I didn't get too good at this, but I think oh wow, look at that.
I almost died.
I think I
killed too much time and I turned around.
Your focus shield can actually persist through combat. Like I did it a couple times on accident to where I'd combo one guy and knock him out, and almost on accident I immediately without even meaning to, went to another enemy and comboed him and knocked him out because my focus shield was up. But it was really hard to maintain in combat. So you can maintain that kind of momentum into the combat, but it was something I definitely didn't master, that's for sure.
Yeah, just flow through everything. That's the thing that is intoxicating for me about games like this is you can fuck up real bad, and depending on how bad, you can still survive. But the perfect run is in your head, especially when it comes to combat and free running. So usually they'll place dudes in like the perfect place for you to fuck them up real good. Like a dude will run up and be like, "Hey," and he'll be right in front of a plate glass window. So obviously they intend for you to just blitz into this guy, kick him. It doesn't always work out that way. Or sometimes you botch a jump right before that guy and you just fall right on your face and then he shoots you. But still, there's that lure of the perfect cinematic run where you hit all the buttons and you flow through the entire sequence exactly correct. And that is really fun when you nail it.
Just like
See,
that.
like, they bounce off each other and lose some health. There are, like, directional attacks, so I can kick this guy. Oh, that is wrong.
Yeah, they
But you can kick guy into walls and he's like, ow. It's kind of goofy because it shouldn't hurt them because all they're doing is... Oh, there he goes.
Perfect.
But yeah, the ragdolls are not great, but I don't really care because I think it's kind of funny. They always fall like really goofy. But yeah, it's pretty obvious they reworked the combat to try and kind of like how you can navigate the open world in the way you want. they wanted to give you options on how to deal with dudes, whether it's lining them up so you can kick them into each other, or kick them into obstacles, or, you know, have obstacles you can vault off of to get hits on them and then run away. I think the game does a pretty good job of adding in new kinds of enemies as you go on to make you vary up how you attack them. It's pretty simple to start out with, and by the end you're having to do a lot of hit and run, because if you just stay there and go toe-to-toe with people, they'll just beat your ass.
Yeah, and I think actually even calling the game open world isn't 100% accurate. It borrows things from open world games. Like right now you can see your radar and how there is the circle of the very GTA style, like you need to get out of here sort of thing, but it's not to me like a GTA where in that sort of game you can kind of do everything, because at the end of the day this is a parkour simulator and you're just going to be running around. Like there isn't really a lot of NPCs to interact with. You can't just randomly go punch a random pedestrian.
That's true, yeah.
If anything, they try to expand the world a little bit. Like you can see more people walking, there's more cars and stuff like that, but there's always going to be the people you run into are just going to be people standing on a rooftop, sort of randomly, and then you'll throw punches at them and they go, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, as the game goes on too, the like security level of the city goes up. So there'll be more enemies just kind of chilling on rooftops. You'll get into the security alert more often, and dudes will just kind of, there are a lot of doors that you can't go in, and they're basically enemy doors, so dudes just kind of pop out of them.
Yeah. I don't think I want anyone to get the wrong idea of what they're saying when it is an open world game.
Yeah, open world just means you can go where you want. It doesn't mean it's like the world's not really full of vibrance.
Yeah, all it really means is like they're not just going to drop you in the middle of a new location. It's like if there's a story and you have to go run to this building and like go demolish it or whatever, like set off a bomb or do this one thing. Like if there's a story-based mission, we're going to do that. You're going to go run to that building. You're not just going to hit a load screen and just show up of a helicopter, which is kind of cool. And then like they give you different mechanics in the game that allow you to get to certain locations that you previously couldn't, because it's like little things like just removing parts from a wall. You saw earlier there's like that little like Spider-Man zip line hook thing. You're dead.
That's weird. Sometimes you'll drop off a zip line and she'll grab back on. That is so. I have a few small complaints about the game. That's one of them. Faith is a little goofy legged sometimes. Sometimes you'll like get caught between two obstacles and she'll just be sitting there. Sometimes you'll hit jump and she just won't jump.
It's going to happen a lot.
Oh, really? So,
I mean,
it took me a while to get used to it, but once I got used to the timing of it, that happened less and less. But even still, it was frustrating when it did happen. Luckily, the checkpoints are pretty generous. You know, if you die, it's not like it's gonna
right where you died.
Bop you back too hard.
Yeah.
What are those dudes? I want to kick them.
You gotta get out of there.
Oh, here they come. I want to kick somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, fuck it.
But yeah, totally. There's a lot of freedom in this space, but if you look at the map, actually most of the city map you can't go to.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, you're right. And I feel so it's weird, right? The original Mirror's Edge, I think, was most criticized for not providing enough gameplay experience for its $60. I can tell that they see, like, there's a quest giver, but you can't do shit to him.
Yeah.
I think they tried their best to make this more justifying of a full game purchase. So, like, this is basically the end. Like,
well, in terms of side quests and like kind of little things you can do, there's not a lot of it. It's mostly run extra missions and get through the single player.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think the game knows what it is, and it's just a semi-open world parkour simulator, free running. And there's not a lot of games like this. It's like this and what's the zombie game?
Oh, Dying Light?
Yeah, it's like this and Dying Light. There's not really a lot of games that's a first-person free running. And so, I don't know, I think Mirror's Edge honestly does it the best.
I agree. And it's not that there's a whole lot of competition in that particular market.
Yeah.
Like you just said. It's like, it's kind of goofy.
Yeah.
These are some of the easier enemies, so you don't have to try too hard. You can just
I think they just fell on each other.
They did. So there's some cool stuff. Like, the intent is there, even if the reality doesn't quite hit. One of the other complaints I have is that the game doesn't really tell you objectively what's faster. So let's say you're running up to the edge of a building. You got to drop. Do you jump, tuck, and roll into a sprint? Do you slide off the edge and then roll? What's better?
I think what happens, for at least I figured out, is like you play around with it and you find out what works for you.
Yeah, it's up to you.
Yeah.
Well, it's up to you to a degree, but like the original Mirror's Edge, it had a time trial mode that actually told you what your speed was.
Oh.
So in that way, you could actually figure out what the faster stunts were, and that was the whole name of the game, is to finish some of those trials as fast as you could. So it was kind of a bummer in this game. There's no real indicator, aside from watching other people's echoes and measuring yourself against that.
Yeah.
what the better move is.
I think that might be something too that I would ideally hope that the community like kind of figures out. Like one of the things in this game, right now I have runner vision set to classic, which all it does is really highlight red objects in the world for you to go to.
Doesn't give you that trail.
In the base version, they give you this trail that essentially tells you how to play the game. It's not always actually correct. It's just sort of the safest route. I got a little sick of that, and I was like, I kind of want to figure this game out for myself, and I found it to be much more enjoyable when I turned that off.
For me, a big thing for those of you who play on a console with a controller or on a PC with a controller, such as I do, this version at least has an alternate control scheme. In the original, it was just one control scheme and that's it, and left bumper was your jump. That's it. Whereas in this game, you can map it to A, which for me is a lot more natural. So I think that's a really nice thing. They have a couple alternate control schemes in this.
It's a good plus.
Small thing, but it's nice.
So I guess the ultimate question, especially given the original Mirror's Edge, is this game worth $60 to you guys?
I think it really comes down to the fact that if you're someone like Matt Peak and you were a big fan of the original Mirror's Edge, and you're probably going to play the game regardless because you've been thirsting for something like this for almost 10 years now. So, and I'm actually one of those people too. I really enjoyed Mirror's Edge and I wanted this game. I'm happy to pay $60 for something like this because
Shock fisters.
there's really no other game I think that offers an experience like this. And with everything, with the visuals, the gameplay, the graphics, everything, I think it's a solid purchase. I think it's a good game.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's the right game for the right kind of player. If you're the type who enjoys racing games, if you enjoy setting a goal for yourself and then trying to realize, I gotta get out of here. I was fucking around too much. If you enjoy setting a goal for yourself and then practicing the same thing over and over again until you hit that goal, then you'll I think have a lot of fun here. Doing the races, climbing up the leaderboards, that's very satisfying for the right kind of player.
Yeah, and I want to hear Peak's thoughts, but I don't want to hog the whole thing. Also, one final thing I want to think is I hope they support the game because I doubt a sequel is going to come out anytime soon.
Yeah.
So I hope this is a base that EA builds upon and DICE builds upon, and then they just continue to support it and add new parts. And hopefully, I would like to see more out of this game because I think it's a very, very strong base.
Yeah, it's got the user created levels, so that'll keep it going for a while. If you're the kind of person who wants to do that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think it iterates beautifully on the concept of what was put forth in the original game. I think all that's there and evolved, and I think it's really good. And yeah, just like you said, I hope they support it. There's a lot I think they could add to it. It's great that users can make their own stuff and put it in there. But I think there's also a lot of room for DICE and EA to support it too. So yeah, I think it's totally worth it.
Cool. Well, there you go. That's our first episode of interview here on the Funhouse channel. Thank you for
we
watching.
didn't give it a goofy rating.
I give it 8 mirrors out of edge.
Ooh, boy, that's a lot of edgy mirrors.
But each edge is only a half, so do that math.
I'm gonna give it 3/4 of a really complicated circuitry forearm tattoo.
I'll give it 24 out of 25 little flying drones.
A lot of drones, man.
If you did like this episode, let us know, share it, just send it to a friend, let us know, because we actually like reviewing games. We don't like giving them scores, but we're more than happy to, tell you what we think and give you our thoughts, especially more reasons to get Peak on here.
Yeah.
It's always a good excuse.
Simmer down, Peak.
Yeah, hey, I need you to settle down, buddy.
I gotta start playing more games.
That's right. Yeah, always a good excuse. Anyway, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
I'm running so fast.
Bye.
Run. Don't die. Don't fall. Don't fall!
Oh, almost fell.
That's a good show.
You keep wicket rapping.
No, he's got his dick out.
Okay, so remember a little song from Eiffel 65 called I'm
Blue.
Blue?
Oh, yeah.
I want to be one of the CGI aliens.
Oh, that's a terrible, terrible
that was
answer.
the pinnacle of CGI. No one knew that they were fake.
It wasn't. Even then, it was shitty CGI. That's what I love about it.
Next question from the Wilk Man. Now that Captain America has been secretly a Hydra agent all along, what other superhero would Funhouse change entirely if you were given the chance?
I would make Spider-Man me, so I'd be Spider-Man.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, wait, would he be evil Spider-Man though?
Nope, just me, and I'd be Spider-Man.